You try to be a good person, respectful, polite. You control your anger, suppress your envy, hide your ambition, because showing it feels wrong, ugly, inappropriate. And then you watch people who play by completely different rules, take the positions, build the audiences, and create the empires. The question isn't that they're playing dirty. The question is that they're operating at 100% of their power, and you at half. Carl Jung, one of the greatest psychologists in history, called that severed half the shadow. And he said something that changed psychology forever. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Today we're going to break down what the shadow actually is, why it is not your enemy, and how the most successful people on the planet turned their dark side into their most powerful weapon. Imagine that from childhood you were told, don't get angry, don't brag, don't be greedy, don't show weakness. And you listened. You buried those parts of yourself deeper and deeper until you stopped feeling them at all. But they didn't go anywhere. Jung described the shadow as a reservoir of everything we've pushed out of conscious awareness. And here's what most people get wrong. It's not only the bad traits. It's not just aggression, envy, or hunger for power. It's also passion, raw ambition, sexuality, and genius that you've forbidden yourself to have. He called it gold in the shadow. The problem isn't that these qualities exist inside you. The problem is that repressed and unexamined, they start running your life from the inside. You think you're controlling your anger, but it explodes at the worst possible moment. You ignore your envy, but it quietly poisons every decision you make. You suppress your ambition, but then you resent everyone who doesn't suppress theirs. Robert Greene, in The Laws of Human Nature, frames it this way for the modern world. People who haven't integrated their shadow become predictable and weak. Their repressed emotions leak out as anxiety, passive aggression, and inauthenticity, and other people sense it immediately. That is the death of any leader, entrepreneur, or creator. And here's where it gets genuinely interesting, because the neuroscience backs this up. When you're constantly suppressing emotions, cortisol stays chronically elevated. This isn't a metaphor, it's physiology. You're spending mental energy not on creativity and decision-making, but on keeping the lid on. Research in high-performance psychology reveals something paradoxical. Traits we typically label as dark, extreme competitiveness, risk tolerance, even a measured degree of narcissism, correlate positively with success in CEOs, elite athletes, and leaders operating under crisis conditions. Not because these people are bad, but because they didn't amputate that energy. They learned to direct it. Integrating your shadow doesn't mean becoming a worse human being. It means reclaiming the mental resources you're burning on self-censorship and redirecting them toward what actually matters. Let's get specific. Steve Jobs. His shadow was obsessive control and brutal directness. He could publicly destroy an engineer's presentation in front of the entire team, someone who'd spent months building it. He refused to compromise even when it cost him relationships and loyalty. By every conventional standard of good behavior, he failed. But look at what happened when he didn't suppress that trait and instead redirected it. His ability to say no to thousands of mediocre ideas and half measures created the iPhone. His refusal to accept good enough made Apple the company that redefined entire industries. He didn't become nicer. He became ruthless about product quality, not about people. That is integration. Not eliminating the trait, finding the right channel for it. Churchill battled what he himself called the black dog, severe depression. He was known as a warmonger, unyielding, excessively aggressive. In peacetime, people considered him dangerous. He was pushed out of power precisely because he was too extreme. And then Hitler came. And it turned out that the only person capable of standing against tyranny was the one whose relentless anger and refusal to negotiate others had labeled a flaw. The very dark trait that made him unelectable in peacetime, his absolute refusal to compromise, saved millions of lives. Robert Moore, in King, Warrior, Magician, Lover, describes this distinction precisely. The difference between the shadow warrior, the tyrant, and the true warrior is not the absence of aggression. It's about what that aggression is aimed at. The tyrant destroys. The protector builds through the willingness to fight. Churchill is not an example of a good man. He is an example of a man who knew exactly when and where to deploy his darkness. Michael Jordan hated losing, not disliked. He could lose his composure over a card game at practice. He was known to carry a grudge against a teammate for months over a throwaway comment and use it as fuel in the next game. By clinical psychology standards, that's a problem. But he never tried to fix himself. He channeled that internal fire into training, into games, into the standards he held himself and everyone around him to. And he became the greatest basketball player in history. He said it himself. He was not a pleasant person in the locker room, but he was a person who knew exactly what his dark side was worth and spent it in the right places. All right, theory is great, but how does this actually work? Here are 3 steps that are genuinely used in shadow work and that you can start applying today. Step 1. Find the trigger. What bothers you most in other people? Not what you consider objectively wrong, but what creates a disproportionate reaction in you. Envy towards someone else's success? Irritation at someone else's confidence? Disgust at someone else's aggression? Jung argued that what irritates us most in others is almost always a projection of our own repressed trait. You can't stand other people's arrogance? Maybe you've been forbidding yourself to take up space. Someone else's aggression makes your skin crawl? Maybe you've been suppressing your own ability to hold boundaries. Step 2. Give it a seat at the table. This doesn't mean act from anger or let yourself do whatever. It means acknowledge that this energy exists and ask, where could it actually be useful? If you feel envy, don't bury it. Use it as a compass. It's pointing at something you actually want. If you feel anger, don't pour it on people around you, but let it give you clarity in a negotiation or the courage to make a hard call. Step 3. Separate feeling from acting. You can feel the impulse to destroy the competition and still choose not to. Integration doesn't mean the darkness takes control. It means you take control, because you can see it clearly, rather than running from it in fear. Most people will spend their entire lives trying to become a better version of themselves, deleting, suppressing, and hiding everything they don't like about who they are. The most successful people did something different. They looked into the darkness and said, "This is also me, and this is also my power." The shadow is not what's stopping you. It's the fuel you're afraid to put in the tank. The only question is, are you ready to drive at full capacity? If this video gave you something real, like and subscribe. In the next one, we'll break down exactly how to use dark energy in negotiations without becoming the person you actually despise.